Hello, hello, and welcome to my Lunch and Learn, where each and every week we explore topics to help you elevate your mindset, be at your best, and radically expand your life and business. And today we're talking about 5 first impressions that you are making, probably without even being aware of it, and how to fix them, how to improve them, how to make them even better. Now, Princeton shows something's going on. Okay, there we go. I think I've got to turn off my other screen. Okay, so if you've ever wondered why what people really think about you, even before they say a word, or even if you've ever left a room and second guessing yourself, this is what this is about. So Princeton research, it shows that it takes just 1/10 of a second to form an impression of someone's trustworthiness or competence. Once it's formed, that impression is really, really incredibly hard to change. Now, studies they show that nonverbal communication, it accounts for 70 to 90% of the impressions people form. And psychology, it calls this the thin slice effect. Our brains, they make accurate judgments about people in seconds based on micro behaviors, and these are out of your awareness. So this is the kind of stuff that we're going to dive into in today's talk. So if you're curious about this, if you want to start looking at the things that are behind the things that are behind the things that are a little less obvious until you're aware of them, today is for you. Now, before we dive in, I want to know where you're coming in from. If you are tuning in by replay, type in replay in the chat. And if it is your very first time here, type in first time in the chat, because I want to thank you for being here. I want my team to thank you for being here. We do appreciate you and your presence, whether live or by replay. Now, some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm Larisa McCooch, Canada's leading abundance mentor. And we work with professional women who want more out of life. They want more clarity, confidence, and abundance. And they are ready to create a life and business that they truly love. Now, why are we even talking about this? Well, I'm going to rewind to the past, and then we're going to get to this topic. Okay, so years ago, probably about 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, I was at a training in Fiji. Okay, I was at a life wealth mastery training in Fiji. And during the life mastery part, we were doing some really powerful energetic processes, and we were sensing one another's energy. And my partner, he was nice, he was respectful, he was kind, but I remember energetically, we were not aligned. He was not my person. And as we were trying to go through this process, I didn't have problems with anyone else, but this one person, like, his energy actually repelled me, and I could not concentrate. And I remember it to this day. I could sense the clamminess of his hands, and just it almost stopped the energy flow. I could sense something stirring in my body that was so different from everyone else. And we all have stuff, but his stuff did not align with mine. And I remember that day that something, I didn't know what it was. And I'm like, oh, am I doing the exercise wrong? But today, with all the training I've had, I realized I was picking up on something so much more than just words. And when I've looked him up over the years, periodically on social media, he's still nice. He's still doing great stuff. We're aligned on many levels. We are still not aligned energetically. Okay. Now, years later, probably about 5-6 years ago, I was doing my NLP training, and we were studying one another in depth. And so we learned something called sensory acuity. This is the ability to pick up on micro cues and facial expressions, body movements, posture, tonality, clothing, even energy alignment. And we were required to dress in certain ways. We were required to pay attention to how we carried ourselves and start noticing the subtle shifts within ourselves that we observed in other people. We observed what kinds of things made people comfortable, what kinds of micro shifts made them uncomfortable, so we could be aware and respond accordingly. So it's kind of like magic. It's the voodoo stuff that people don't see or think about behind the scenes. But once you have this level of awareness, you you start to pick up on it and you realize, okay, it's not just this person's uncomfortable or this person has a bad vibe. Here are some of the really strategic ways that I can tell that this is the signal I am receiving. And I can't tell or read what's going on in their mind, but here are a few things I can start perhaps asking about, inquiring about, or at least being aware of based on the things that I'm seeing. So it gives you a much greater power and much greater sense of awareness. And that felt really good because I knew a lot of these things intuitively, but it helped me get words to some of these energetic sensations I had from people. And just this past weekend, I had the privilege of attending Destiny Fest. It is a fabulous conference in Toronto. If you want to attend, just let me know and I'll send you the link. To the registration is open for 2026. You can pre-select your seat. It is fabulous. So just say Destiny Fest info in the chat and I'll send you that info. But I know I attended as a participant and I noticed I was really paying attention. There were so many great takeaways, but I was really paying attention to how people radiated their presence and how some people just drew people in and others, without realizing it, repelled connection. In this particular event, so much more than most events, I actually noticed there was so much more natural magnetism, even if it was slow. Okay, that like the energy and the people there were so good, but even if it was a slow magnetism, there was a magnetism. Part of it was the people, their intentions and their heart, and another part was really the structure and the high level, beautiful, pure intentions put on by the organizers. And so, and this repulsion was really about how people showed up, but it was a lot fewer than in most cases. And so I really enjoyed observing it, noticing things, and paying attention. And so here's the truth: your unconscious mind is always scanning the environment for these cues. It picks up on things it is not even aware of, and so many other people's unconscious minds, they're doing the exact same thing with you, whether they can articulate it or not, whether they even comprehend what's going on or not. But the good news is these are learnable skills. And today I am going to share 5 of the biggest first impressions you're making. And they might be good or they might be not so good, but wherever they are, you can elevate them to the next level. If they're not so good, you can fix them. And I'm going to share how specifically you can do that. So really, really good talk. If you do want to hear about my experience at the Destiny Summit, some of my learning, some of the nuances and beautiful things I experienced, we would be putting up a blog post this week. So I can send you the blog post. Just write Destiny Fest blog or Destiny Fest something in the chat, and I'll send, or the article, say write Destiny Fest article, and I will get that article to you as soon as it's out. It'll be out today or tomorrow. But it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful to really share these opportunities with people. So what is a first impression? Okay, we're talking about first impressions. A first impression is a snap judgment that others make within 3 to 5 seconds of meeting you. And it's based almost entirely on non-verbal cues. So within you meeting someone, within 3 to 7 seconds, they're judging you. They're making opinions about you. And the thing is, you're doing the exact same thing about them. Even if you want to see the best in people, even if you see people in the best possible light, there are certain things that might steer your energy in a certain direction. So really start noticing those first few seconds. What assumptions do you make on people based on how they look, how they stand, how they walk, talk, and show up? And so sensory acuity, I mentioned, it's the ability to notice these subtle changes in their physiology, so how they carry their body, their tone of voice, and their energy, so you can better understand yourself and those other people. The other term I want to just cover real quick is the unconscious mind. So this is the part of the mind that processes millions, 12 million bits of information per second. And this is outside of your conscious awareness. Your conscious mind processes about 128 bits per second. So it picks up on signals that we miss consciously. And once you start learning how to read your unconscious mind, how to work with your unconscious mind, how to decipher the language of your unconscious mind, I'm going to say it. I might not be the best way to describe it, but once you really learn what it is, how it works, and how it operates, you can start accessing different kinds of information. So even one client this morning on my morning calls, so we have morning success calls. One of my clients, she mentioned, she's like, I meditate a lot, but recently she's been setting these deep intentions for herself. And she got stuck on a project yesterday. And she said, I got stuck on this project and I couldn't do it. And I knew I had to finish working, but she took like 15, 20 something minutes. And she just meditated, putting the intention out there that her unconscious mind would fit the puzzles of the pieces of the puzzles together and give her the answers she had been struggling to find all day. She did her little meditation. She felt good. All of a sudden, eyes pop open and she had the answers she was looking for. And so it was because she knew how to ask her unconscious mind through this intention she set. We practice this, we talk about it, we study it, we're aware of it every single day. And she put the question out there. She knew that one of the things with your unconscious mind is when you ask it a question, it will want to find the answer for you. And so she asked her unconscious mind a question, and it put all the pieces of the puzzle together and presented it to her on a silver platter. And so when it comes to these first impressions, like I said, it takes just a tenth of a second to form this first impression of someone's trustworthiness, of competence. Most of the first impressions come from nonverbal communication. There's some from verbal, but most of it, 70 to 93%, come from nonverbal. And your brain does make judgments about people, even if you're a good person, even if you care deeply for people, wish the best of them, don't gossip, don't say these things. When you pay attention, there are certain things that you're making assumptions about just in microseconds based on what you sense from people. And once you start reading them, you can start having so much more power to show up differently for yourself with integrity with who you're actually becoming, and realizing that you're sending them messages, even if you don't intend to, and they are sending you messages, even if they're not aware. So first point, okay, the first of the 5 first impressions. The first one is your energy field. And last week we held a morning magic challenge. We opened up our morning success calls, 5 days with my clients, to our community. And one of the topics that we studied, we change our topics every week, but one of the ones we studied last week was our aura, our energy field. And this is so powerful. People were just like, oh my goodness, they feel it, they sense it. It is incredible. So people feel your vibe instantly. If you are stressed, if you're in scarcity, if you are insecure, these things, they can leak out. And one of the things that I noticed is at Destiny Fest, most of the attendees, like all of the presenters for sure, they lit up the room with presence. And a few did shrink back and go unnoticed or attempt to go unnoticed until someone found them. And what's really important is, like, you've walked into a room where someone just lights up the room and you're like, I want to be with that person. You may not know why, but you're like, I want to be with that person. And then there's other people that they walk in a room and you're like, I need to stay away from that person. Okay. You know that, you sense it, you've experienced it. And so what you want to do is, before entering a room, before stepping into a Zoom meeting, before doing anything where you're going to be around other humans, okay, just give them a gift and give yourself a gift of taking a few breaths, of getting grounded, of calming your nervous system. Maybe even saying thank you for something. If you've had a crappy day, go say thank you for something. Thank you for the arms you have, because not everyone has arms. Thank you for the heart that is beating within you. Thank you for the beautiful people and the relationships you have in your life. Thank you for your health, for the food you have. Like, simple things. Thank you for really good toilet paper. Could you imagine what toilet paper was like 50, 100 years ago? Probably not the same, okay? Like, these could be simple and silly things, and they can be profound, but start saying thank you. Start doing things that align with you and your energy. The simplest ones are breath work and gratitude. So you can do all kinds of energy practices, like grounding practices. I was talking to a parent at the school today, and he started doing grounding practices and vibrational sound healing work with his son, who used to be off the charts and couldn't pay attention. And since he started doing work with him every week using sound frequencies, his son has calmed down and he can finally be present. So your energy field is important because that is what people feel instantly. Okay. Second thing, your posture and presence. Now, people have always said, Larisa, you have such good posture. You're a dancer. You sit up so straight. And I used to sit up straight in dance class. But what happened is I was sitting up so straight, I was creating so much tension in my back. And if you really looked at me, there was a lot of tension everywhere else in my body. And I remember I was doing a class for many years ago, probably about 16, 17 years ago. I was teaching a class for a Montessori Pilates, for a Montessori school. It's a Pilates class. And we were talking about posture and breathing. And I remember we slouched, and these kids were 2 to 4 and they slouched. And I said, is this a happy posture? Is this a good posture? They're like, no, this does not feel good. This is not happy. I can't breathe in this posture. This is a very closed and sad posture. Versus when they're sitting up with a straight spine, all of a sudden they can breathe, they're happier, they're more upright, they're more alive, they're more vivid. Very different. If you cross your arms, all of a sudden, this indicates this is like a closed off position, and it's saying, stay away from me. Or if you avoid eye contact, right? If I was talking to you like this, avoiding eye contact instead of looking right at you, not giving you the gift of my presence, okay? And so often how you stand and how you show up is critical because this indicates your presence. Amy Cuddy, she's a Harvard researcher, and she did a beautiful TED Talk on power poses. And she's had some criticism on it, but she looked at how power poses increase confidence hormones with testosterone and lower stress, cortisol. So one of the beautiful things is if you actually do this, it's going to work. Okay, regardless of whether you get it or not, if you stand tall, she said, stand like Wonder Woman or Superman with your hands on your waist, or you could even open your arms up. When you stand like this, you might feel totally ridiculous, but you know what? You're going to feel different because you're going to be upright. And when you go back into your meeting, into your day, and you've done this for 2 minutes, or you've been like, yes, like I feel amazing, you carry that with you. And so you want to be standing tall. You want your shoulders open. You want your eye contact to be looking straight ahead and steady. You want to occupy space just like you belong. Why? Because you do. Because you do. Now, the third thing is your clothing choices. Okay, this was a big one that we really talked about in my NLP trainers training. Okay, so we literally had fashion shows every single day. We looked at why you dress a certain way at the beginning of a training and how you can adjust your wardrobe to suit a certain audience over time. We looked at how you would dress for different types of audiences, both men and women. We looked at the clothing choices that increase authority and diminish authority. And this can vary a lot industry by industry, but the principles are the same. Okay, it's not just the outfit, it's the appropriate clothing in the appropriate setting. Why? Because clothes signal authority, approachability, and energy. And it's so important that we dress as our future selves, that we wear colors that are aligned with ourselves. If you wear the wrong colors, they will look terrible on you and you will feel wrong in your clothing. That you wear clothing that fits you well. Okay. The wrong cut on the wrong body shape is just not going to feel right. And it's not going to look good either. People will wonder why things aren't fitting properly. Okay. And you want to really look at outfits that are aligned with how you want to be perceived. So clothing is so critical. We're hosting a glam day mid-October for our community. So if you want tickets on Glam Day, if you want to learn more about it, then write Glam Day in the chat. This is going to be a live event where we actually look at the inner image that we have and think about how we strategically want to dress to express that inner image. So that inner image is expressed on the outside through clothing, through the right energy, through the right colors, because your clothing choices absolutely matter. However, if you don't do the inner work and you don't have that clear image of who you are and who you're becoming, you can randomly dress in an outfit, but it's not going to mean anything. You're going to feel like an imposter because it's not going to be connected to who you actually are looking to be. Okay. So but if you do want information on Glam Day, it is going to be fabulous. We're going to really connect the inner and the outer images for wild energy and success. There is going to be a lovely networking dinner with really successful women in the city of Toronto. So be there, be there, be there. It will be amazing. Now, the next one, okay, number 4 is your voice and language. Your tone, your pace, your word choice, they matter so much more than just the content. If you're hesitant and use a filler word, like if I talk like this the whole time, you'd be like, Larisa, you don't know what you're talking about. And why are you looking for words? Those kinds of things, the hesitant tones, the filler words, they reduce authority. So what can you do? Breathe. It will help with voice resonance. Slow down. Replace weak language with powerful words. Instead of filler words, just pause and zip your lip. Replace words like I think and just say what you know or what you believe. Don't apologize for things unless there's actually a reason you've done something wrong. So really start paying attention to how you show up in the words you use. Stop saying but. It negates everything you've just said prior to. I have an article that I wrote about words not to use and words to replace them with. So if you want the article, write words not to use and I'll send that to you. And that's a really great reference. Why? Because the words you say matter and how you say them absolutely counts. Now, last but not least, 5 is your presence and attention. So if you're distracted, if you're multitasking, if you're not listening deeply when people are talking, they feel it. If you're picking up your phone every 30 seconds, the unconscious mind reads it as, I don't value you. I don't value your time. I don't really care. And it's like a slap in the face. It's not a kind thing to do. And so what you want to do is practice full presence. Keep your phone in your purse, keep your phone turned down, put the phone away. Listen with your whole body, listen with your eyes, with your ears. Notice their entire energy. Notice how you feel with that person. Listen with 2 ears and speak with 1 mouth. You want to use them in proportion because when you gift people attention, that presence builds trust faster than anything else. So your first impression is so important. It's more than just your handshake, more than just your smile. It's your energy, it's your posture, it's your clothing, it's your voice, it's your presence. And all of these things are things that you can shift with awareness and practice. All of these things are things you can improve. All of these things are things you can be aware of. All you've got to do is wake up and pay attention. So find an area that you can improve this week. Let me know in the chat. What area do you want to spend a little more time on? What area do you want to gain an extra 1, 2, 5, 10% in mastery right now? Because that little tiny change is going to make a world of difference. We're not asking for perfection, but I am asking you to start paying attention. And when you do slip into old habits, because you probably will, just Notice. And then you could hit the stop button. We often say stop and then rewind. That is a practice that I started with my son when he was young. I remember there was one day we were leaving outside the house and we were walking out the door to go to school or to an activity or something. And he was mad and he kicked the door with his boot, this 3-year-old child, 2 or 3-year-old child. And he stormed out the door and I said, dude, is that really good practice? Is that really going to make you feel good, feel happy, have a good day? And I said, stop. He said, no, it's not going to make me feel good. I'm like, let's rewind. And I literally made him walk backwards through the door and say, Mama, can you please open the door? And then he waited for me to open it instead of kicking it and being mad. And then he said, thank you for opening the door. And he walked out. So simple. But I often think when we do fall off the wagon, when we do slip into these old habits, just hit the pause button, stop, literally rewind. And if you have to physically walk backwards, do that. Okay. Physically go ahead and then do it again so you can make a better practice for yourself. You can create these rituals before meetings or interactions, but it's not about changing who you are. It's about aligning the signals that you send as a clear and powerful and confident leader that you actually are. So if you are interested in joining us, I've given you tons and tons of resources, but if you are interested in joining us for Glam Day, it is coming up. We have an early bird special that is done this weekend. And so it's going to be a beautiful event. What we're doing is we are meeting virtually for a session with my image consultant, who is going to walk you through a inner and outer blended process to think about who you want to show up as and what brand you are looking to express as this next best version of you. So we're going to dive deep into the inner work and really start looking at how that could be expressed strategically. And so we're going to go through that inner work connected to how some of the outer work is going to be expressed. That's going to be a Zoom call the week before the event, so you actually have time to mentally prepare. You'll also have a chance to meet some of the other amazing participants, which is going to be a lot of fun. Then the next week, we are meeting for a half-day lifestyle retreat. We are starting in a beautiful boutique in the city of Toronto, and it's a place that has treated me very, very well. I've invested a lot of myself in that place, and it's made me feel incredible going in there, walking away. And my image consultant, Michelle, she is also going to come with us. So her and I will speak at the event. We'll have some beautiful networking. She's going to do some demos and some styling with a few of the participants, just so we can sort of see the difference, the before and the after effects. And then she, as well as the amazing staff at this boutique, are going to be available to help curate custom and specific outfits for you that do align with your highest and best self. And so there's going to be beautiful shopping, beautiful energy, beautiful connection, and a lot of education so you can make more intelligent decisions. The education I've gotten from her every time we've gone shopping, it's like, yay, let's go shopping. There is so much more going on behind the scenes than just picking cute outfits. There is strategy, and it makes you feel confident when you can start creating these curated energy pieces. And so that'll be the first part of the evening. The second part of the evening, we are meeting at a restaurant. We are heading over to a beautiful restaurant where we are going to have a lovely, intimate dinner with one another and be able to not just buy the clothing and not just talk to one another. However, we are going to have deep, authentic connections, not like we were yesterday, not like we were 5 days ago, but as our highest and best selves. So we really believe that there is power in people. There's power in celebration. There's power in celebrating you and where you're going. And so we're going to have a curated, beautiful VIP dinner so that women can truly connect with one another in deep and meaningful ways. So Early bird pricing ends this weekend. Make sure to secure your spot now and save. It is going to be fabulous. Glam Day is amazing. If you want the link, just type in Glam Day in the chat and we will set you up. So I hope you are ready to join us for this powerful, powerful event. Thank you for listening to me. This has been a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I think it's a worthy topic and something that we all need to talk more about, think more about, and really be aware of these first impressions that you're making without knowing it unless you start paying attention. So